She didn't scream when they threw her into the frozen street. Clara Beckett had stopped screaming months ago, when they buried her husband with lies carved into his headstone, when her brother-in-law took everything she owned, when the town that once called her the sheriff's wife started calling her the Scarlet Widow. But as she lay bleeding in the January snow, two small faces appeared above her. Lily. The younger one whispered, "She's the one from my dream." And everything Clara thought she knew about survival was about to change. If this story touches your heart, subscribe to our channel and follow Clara's journey to the end. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. The church bell had just finished its final toll when they dragged her out. Clara Beckett didn't fight them. Fighting took strength. She'd stopped having 3 months ago when December's first frost had found her sleeping behind Miller's feed store with nothing but a horse blanket and the clothes her husband's brother had allowed her to keep. "Get your hands off the doorframe," Jasper Beckett ordered, his voice carrying that false authority he'd perfected since taking over his dead brother's badge. "You're making a scene." Clara released the wooden frame. Her fingers left bloody smears where the splinters had torn her skin. "That's better?" Jasper straightened his coat, the coat that had belonged to her husband, the coat she'd mended herself just last spring. "Now walk." The congregation parted as they pushed her down the church steps. Clara kept her eyes forward, but she felt them, the stares, the whispers, the judgment of people who had eaten at her table, who had come to her for help when their children were sick or their husbands were drunk. "Should have run her out months ago," someone muttered. "Bad luck, that one. Cursed." Poor William, married a Jezebel and didn't even know it. Clara's foot caught on the bottom step. She stumbled, and Jasper's deputy, a man named Colt, who used to tip his hat to her in the street, shoved her forward. "Walk straight, widow. Show some dignity." Dignity. Clara almost laughed. She'd lost that somewhere between the funeral and the eviction, between the accusations and the starvation. Dignity was for women who had homes, who had food, who had someone in this world who believed them. "Where are you taking me?" Her voice came out cracked, unused. She couldn't remember the last time she'd spoken to anyone. "Town limits." Jasper walked beside her now, close enough that she could smell the whiskey on his breath, the same whiskey her husband had kept locked in his desk. "Judge Wade signed the order this morning. Bitter Creek doesn't want you anymore, Clara." "I have nowhere to go." "Should have thought of that before you got my brother killed." Clara stopped walking. The cold bit through her thin dress, through the shawl that had more holes than fabric, but she felt nothing except the familiar burn of injustice that had kept her alive these past months. "I didn't get William killed. You know that, Jasper. You know exactly what happened that night." For just a moment, something flickered in Jasper's eyes. Fear. Guilt. The knowledge of a secret that could destroy him if it ever came to light. Then his hand connected with her face. Clara hit the frozen ground hard. Blood filled her mouth, warm and copper-tasting. Above her, the January sky was the color of old bruises. "Get up." Jasper's boot nudged her ribs. "I said get up." She tried. God knows she tried. But her body had finally reached its limit, 3 months of sleeping in barns and eating scraps, of being spat on and shunned, of carrying the weight of a lie that no one would let her set down. "Can't," she whispered. "Then crawl." The crowd had followed them from the church. Clara could hear their footsteps on the frozen dirt, their breathing in the cold air. Not one of them spoke up. Not one of them said this was wrong. "I think that's enough, Jasper." The voice came from somewhere to her left. Deep. Quiet. The kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to command attention. Clara turned her head, her cheek pressed against the icy ground, and saw boots. Work boots, scarred and dusty, stopping just a few feet away from her broken body. "This ain't your concern, McAllister." Jasper's tone changed, less confident, now more defensive. "Town business. Beating a woman in the street is town business. She's not a woman, she's a murderess." A pause. Clara watched those boots take one step closer. "She been tried, convicted." She don't need to be. Everyone knows what she did. What everyone knows and what's true ain't always the same thing. Clara felt hands on her arms, then not rough like Jasper's men, but careful, strong. She was lifted from the frozen ground as easily as if she weighed nothing at all. Samuel McAllister was taller than she remembered. The scar that ran from his left temple to his jaw had faded since she'd last seen him, but his eyes were the same gray as winter storms, unreadable as stone. "You can put me down," Clara said, though her voice was barely a whisper. "Can you stand?" She considered lying. "No." He nodded once, as if her honesty was something he'd expected. Then he turned to face Jasper, still holding Clara in his arms, like she was something precious instead of something discarded. "She's coming with me." Jasper laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You can't be serious. You know what they say about her. What she did to my brother. I know what they say. And you still want to take her in. You got 2 little girls at home, McAllister. You want this woman around them?" Something changed in Samuel's expression. Just for a moment, Clara saw anger. Real anger, the kind that came from somewhere deep and old and personal. "My girls," he said quietly, "are the reason I'm here." Before Jasper could respond, a small voice called out from behind the gathered crowd. "Uncle Sam, we found her." The crowd parted, and Clara saw them 2 little girls pushing their way through the forest of adult legs. The older one had dark braids and eyes that missed nothing. The younger one was smaller, frailer, clutching her sister's hand like it was the only solid thing in the world. "Lily." Samuel's voice carried a warning. "I told you to wait by the wagon." "We couldn't." The older girl Lily reached them, slightly out of breath, her eyes fixed on Clara with an intensity that made Clara's chest hurt. "Rosie said we had to come. She said this was the lady." "What lady?" The younger girl, Rosie, stepped forward. She couldn't have been more than 6, with pale skin and circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. She looked at Clara for a long moment, then reached out and touched Clara's hand where it hung limp over Samuel's arm. "The one Mama sent," Rosie said simply. "The one who's supposed to stay with us." The crowd murmured. Clara heard the word witch, somewhere in the whispers, heard curse and devil's work. But Samuel McAllister didn't flinch. He looked down at his youngest niece with something that might have been exasperation, might have been love. "Rosie, we talked about this. You can't just... She's cold, Uncle Sam." Rosie's voice was matter-of-fact. "And hurt, and hungry. Mama would say we have to help her." "Your mama would say a lot of things," Samuel murmured, but his grip on Clara tightened slightly protectively. Jasper had recovered from his surprise. He stepped forward, his hand resting on the gun at his hip, in a gesture that was pure intimidation. "McAllister, I'm warning you. That woman is dangerous. She's a liar and probably a murderess. You take her to your place, you're bringing trouble on yourself and those girls." Samuel met his gaze steadily. "I've had trouble before." "Not like this." "You threatening me, deputy?" The title was deliberate. Clara understood that immediately. Samuel was reminding Jasper that he was only deputy, only the shadow of the man whose badge he wore, only the brother and not the husband. Jasper's face reddened. "I'm telling you facts. That woman got my brother killed. She was in the church when William died." Everyone turned. Dr. Abigail Stone was pushing through the crowd, her medical bag over her shoulder and fire in her eyes. At 60, she was one of the few people in Bitter Creek who said exactly what she thought and dared anyone to argue. "I was the one who examined William's body," the doctor continued. "I was the one who noted the time of death. Clara was at the Wednesday evening service when your brother was shot. I saw her there myself. So unless she learned to be in 2 places at once, she didn't kill anyone." "She told the robbers where he'd be," Jasper shot back. "She planned it." "Did she? Where's your proof?" "Everyone knows. Everyone knows nothing." Dr. Stone stopped directly in front of Jasper, and despite being a foot shorter, she somehow seemed to look down at him. Everyone repeats rumors started by a man who had everything to gain from his brother's death. But I'm the only one who seems to remember that William changed his will 2 weeks before he died. Changed it to leave everything to his wife, instead of his brother. The crowd's murmur changed pitch. This was new information, or rather old information that had been carefully buried. Jasper's face went from red to white. That's a lie. Is it I witnessed the signing along with Reverend Whitmore? We both told Judge Wade about it after William died. Funny how that will disappeared from the county records. Dr. Stone's voice could have frozen the creek solid. Almost like someone didn't want it found. Clara stared at the doctor. She'd known about the will. William had told her about it the night before he died, had said he wanted to make sure she was protected. But she'd thought the will was lost, that Jasper had destroyed it. If there were witnesses. This ain't the time or place for this discussion, Jasper said, but his voice had lost its edge. He was looking at the crowd now, at the faces that had started to shift from hostile to uncertain. The fact remains that the woman is a vagrant. She's got no home, no family, and no place in this town. She has a place. Samuel's voice cut through the tension like a blade. With me. You can't just... I'm offering her honest work, a roof over her head, a chance to get back on her feet. Samuel looked around at the gathered townspeople, meeting their eyes one by one. Anyone here want to tell me that's against the law? No one spoke. Thought not. Samuel adjusted his hold on Clara and began walking toward a wagon parked at the edge of the street. The girls fell into step beside him, Lily taking Rosie's hand. This isn't over, McAllister, Jasper called after them. Judge Wade won't stand for this. Samuel didn't turn around. Then tell Judge Wade he knows where to find me. Clara wanted to say something, wanted to thank him, or warn him, or ask why he was doing this. But her body had finally given out exhaustion, and cold and hunger combining to pull her down into darkness. The last thing she heard before she lost consciousness was Rosie's small voice. Don't worry, Mama. We found her, just like you said we would. And she woke to warmth. That was the first thing Clara noticed, real heat radiating from somewhere nearby. She was lying on something soft, covered by something heavy, and for a moment she couldn't remember where she was or how she'd gotten there. Then the memories came flooding back. The church, Jasper, the frozen street, the man who'd picked her up like she mattered. Clara opened her eyes. She was in a small room, sparsely furnished but clean. A fire crackled in a stone hearth. Pale winter light filtered through a single window, illuminating worn wooden floors and walls bare of decoration except for a single cross above the fireplace. You're awake. Clara turned her head. Dr. Abigail Stone sat in a chair beside the bed, reading glasses perched on her nose and a leather-bound book in her hands. Where? Clara's voice came out as a croak. McAllister Place, about 5 miles outside of town. The doctor set down her book and reached for a cup on the bedside table. Here, small sips. The water was cold and clean. Clara drank until the cup was empty. How long was I out? Rest of yesterday, and all through the night. Your body needed it. Dr. Stone refilled the cup from a pitcher. You were half frozen and 3/4 starved. Another few days, and we'd have been burying you instead of feeding you. Clara absorbed this information without surprise. She'd known she was dying, had known it for weeks, had stopped caring about a month ago. Why did he help me? McAllister. The doctor's expression softened slightly. That's a complicated question with a simple answer. Sam McAllister is a good man. One of the few left in this county, if you ask me. He doesn't know me. No, but his nieces seem to think they did. Clara remembered the younger girl's words, the one Mama sent. What did she mean, the little one? She said something about her mother. Dr. Stone was quiet for a moment. Rosie McAllister is different. Always has been. She was born early with a heart that beats wrong and lungs that don't work right. Most doctors would say she shouldn't have survived her first winter. The doctor paused. But she did. And ever since she's had these feelings, notions about things she shouldn't know. She's ill. She's fragile, gets tired easily, has trouble breathing when the weather changes, or when she exerts herself too much. Dr. Stone met Clara's eyes. But she's also got a gift if you believe in such things. She seems to know when someone's coming before they arrive, knows when trouble's brewing, and apparently she knew about you. Clara didn't know what to say to that. She'd never believed in prophets or seers or any of the spiritual nonsense her grandmother used to mutter about. But she also couldn't explain why a 6-year-old stranger had looked at her like she was the answer to a prayer. The other girl, Lily, she called him Uncle Sam. That's right. Their mother was Samuel's sister Margaret, died giving birth to Rosie 6 years ago. The father ran off before the girls were even a month old. Sam's been raising them ever since. Alone. Alone. Dr. Stone stood gathering her things. He's got help from me when they need doctoring, and Reverend Whitmore comes out to give them lessons when he can. But mostly it's just the 3 of them trying to make a go of that farm. Clara thought about that. A man alone raising 2 girls, one of them sickly. It couldn't be easy. I should leave, she said, starting to push herself up. I don't want to bring trouble on them. Lie back down. The doctor's voice brooked no argument. You're not going anywhere until you've eaten a proper meal and kept it down. And even then, you're in no shape to survive on your own. It's January in Texas, Mrs. Beckett. Cold doesn't care about your pride. It's not pride. It's... Clara struggled to find the words. Jasper won't let this go. He'll come here. He'll make their lives difficult. Let him try. Dr. Stone pulled on her coat. Sam McAllister was a Texas Ranger for 12 years. He's faced down outlaws, murderers, and more than a few corrupt lawmen. I don't think he's scared of Jasper Beckett. The information surprised Clara. He was a ranger. One of the best from what I hear. Quit about 4 years ago, right around when his sister died. Never said why, but there's rumors. The doctor paused at the door. Then again, there's always rumors in small towns. Sometimes they're true. Mostly they're not. After she left, Clara lay still, staring at the ceiling. A Texas Ranger. That explained the way he'd stood up to Jasper, calm, unafraid, like a man who'd seen worse things than a corrupt deputy with a grudge. But it didn't explain why he'd helped her. Rangers were lawmen. They didn't generally make a habit of taking in accused murderesses. The door opened again, and this time it was the older girl Lily, who entered carrying a tray with a bowl of something that smelled like heaven. Dr. Stone said you should eat, Lily announced, setting the tray on the bedside table. It's rabbit stew. Uncle Sam caught it yesterday. Thank you. Lily nodded but didn't leave. She stood by the bed, studying Clara with those sharp, assessing eyes. Rosie really did dream about you, she said finally. 3 nights in a row. She said you were cold and scared and alone and that you needed us. Clara didn't know how to respond to that. Does she dream about things often? Sometimes, not always. Mostly when it's important. Lily tilted her head. She dreamed about Mama before she died too. Knew it was coming, even though the doctor said everything would be fine. Clara's heart clenched. Such a burden for a child so young. I'm sorry, she said. About your mother. Lily shrugged, but her eyes betrayed her. It was a long time ago. I barely remember her. Rosie doesn't remember her at all except... She trailed off. Except sometimes she says Mama talks to her. Tells her things. Like about you. Clara wanted to say that was impossible. That dead mothers didn't speak to their children. But 3 months ago, she would have said it was impossible for a whole town to turn against her overnight, and look how that had turned out. Your uncle, Clara said carefully. Is he angry about having to take me in? Uncle Sam doesn't get angry. Lily said this with the absolute certainty of childhood. He gets quiet. The quieter he gets, the more worried you should be. But he wasn't quiet when he carried you in. He was... She paused, searching for the right word. Determined. Like when he decides something needs doing and nothing's going to stop him. That sounds like a lot of pressure. For him or for you? Clara almost smiled at that. Both, I suppose. Lily considered this. Maybe, but Uncle Sam says pressure makes diamonds, and that the things worth doing are usually the hardest ones to do. Before Clara could respond, another voice came from the doorway. Lily, let Mrs. Beckett eat her stew in peace. Samuel McAllister stood in the doorframe still wearing his work clothes, heavy canvas pants, and a flannel shirt, with the sleeves rolled up despite the cold. Up close and in proper lighting, Clara could see that the scar on his face was old, healed to a thin white line that pulled slightly at the corner of his eye. I was just talking to her, Lily protested. And now you're going to help Rosie with her reading like I asked. Lily sighed the long-suffering sigh of a 9-year-old who was used to being responsible. Fine, but I want to talk to her more later. We'll see. After the girl had gone, Samuel stepped into the room, keeping a respectful distance from the bed. Clara was suddenly very aware of how she must look dirty, bruised, barely human, after months of living like an animal. I should thank you, she said, for what you did. He shook his head. Nothing to thank. Anyone with eyes could see you needed help. Most people with eyes walked right past me, for 3 months. Samuel was quiet for a moment. Most people are cowards. And you're not. I've been a coward plenty of times, just not about this. He pulled up the chair Dr. Stone had vacated and sat down, putting them closer to eye level. You should know what you're getting into, Mrs. Beckett. My niece's visions, or dreams, or whatever you want to call them, I don't pretend to understand them. But I've learned to trust them. She said you were coming, and she was right. She said you were supposed to stay, and I believe her. Clara stared at him. That's a lot of faith to put in a 6-year-old. Maybe. Something flickered in those gray eyes. But Rosie's never been wrong yet. And honestly, I need help. The girls need a woman around. I've done my best these past 4 years, but there's things I can't teach them, things I can't give them. I'm not exactly in a position to give anyone anything. You're alive. You're here. That's a start. He leaned forward slightly. I'm not asking you to be their mother. I'm not asking you for anything except what you can give. Help around the house. Cooking, cleaning, whatever you're able to do. In exchange, you get a roof, food, and a place where nobody's going to drag you through the street. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes and hated herself for it. She'd promised herself she wouldn't cry anymore. Crying was weakness, and weakness got you killed. You don't know me, she said, her voice thick. You don't know what they say I did. I know what they say. I also know that Jasper Beckett has been trying to buy my land for 2 years. That he's had his eye on it ever since the railroad started making noise about running a line through here. Samuel's jaw tightened. And I know that your husband came to see me a week before he died. Wanted to talk about something important, he said. Something about his brother. Clara's breath caught. William came to see you. We were supposed to meet that Wednesday night, the night he was killed. Samuel's voice was steady, but Clara could hear the weight in it. I got there too late. Found him already dead with 2 bullets in his back. The kind of shots a man doesn't take from the front. The implication hung in the air between them. You think... Clara couldn't finish the sentence. I think a lot of things. I don't say most of them. Samuel stood, moving toward the door. Eat your stew, Mrs. Beckett. Rest. Get your strength back. We can talk more when you're feeling better. He was almost to the door when Clara spoke again. Why were you at the church today? Samuel paused, his hand on the doorframe. He didn't turn around. Rosie woke up at dawn, said the lady was in trouble, said we had to go now today, or it would be too late. He glanced back at her, and for just a moment Clara saw something in his expression. Not pity, not judgment, but something that looked almost like recognition. I've learned not to argue with Rosie when she gets like that. So you just believed her a child's dream. Mrs. Beckett. His voice was soft but certain. I've seen a lot of things in my life that I can't explain. Men who should have died walking away without a scratch. Horses that led their riders out of danger when there was no logical way they could have known. Storms that turned at the last moment. He shrugged slightly. Maybe it's luck. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's something else entirely. But I've learned to pay attention when the universe tells me something. With that, he left, closing the door quietly behind him. Clara lay there for a long moment, staring at the ceiling. Then slowly, she reached for the bowl of stew. It was the first hot meal she'd had in 3 months. She ate every bite. The days that followed were strange and dreamlike, a blur of sleep and food, and the slow return of strength. Clara spent most of her time in the small room they'd given her, too weak to do much more than sit up in bed and watch the winter light move across the walls. The girls visited her often. Lily would come to practice her reading, stumbling over words and looking to Clara for help. Rosie would come to simply sit, her small presence a quiet comfort. Sometimes she would bring her doll, a worn thing made of cloth and yarn, and prop it up on Clara's pillow like another patient recovering from some invisible illness. Samuel kept his distance, but Clara was aware of his presence. She heard his footsteps in the hallway at night, checking the doors and windows. Heard his voice in the morning, getting the girls ready for their chores. Heard him chopping wood outside, a rhythmic thump, thump, thump that became as familiar as her own heartbeat. On the 5th day, Clara woke to find Rosie standing by her bed, staring at her with those 2 old eyes. "You had a baby," Rosie said. It wasn't a question. Clara felt her whole body go cold. "What? A baby. A boy. But he went to heaven before he could be born." No one knew about that. Not even William. Clara had lost the child early, just weeks after realizing she was pregnant, and she'd never told a soul. The grief had been too private, too profound to share. "How do you know that?" Rosie climbed onto the bed, settling beside Clara, with the unself-conscious intimacy of childhood. "Mama tells me things sometimes. She said your baby is in heaven with her. She said they're watching us together." Clara wanted to tell the child she was wrong, wanted to deny it, to push away this knowledge that no one should have. Instead, she felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Tears she'd held back for years. Tears for the child she'd never held, for the husband she'd lost, for the life that had been taken from her piece by piece until there was nothing left. Rosie didn't say anything. She just took Clara's hand in her small one and held it, and somehow that was enough. When Lily found them an hour later, they were both asleep. Clara's tears dried on her cheeks, and Rosie curled against her side like a kitten seeking warmth. Lily didn't wake them. She just pulled the blanket up over both of them and closed the door softly behind her. By the end of the 2nd week, Clara was strong enough to leave her room. The McAllister cabin was larger than it had seemed from her sickbed. A main room with a hearth and a rough-hewn table, a small kitchen area, and 2 other rooms besides the one she'd been given. It was sparse, but clean, with evidence of Samuel's practical nature everywhere. Repaired furniture, mended curtains, tools organized with military precision. "We don't have much," Lily said, giving Clara a tour while Samuel was outside tending to the animals. "But Uncle Sam says what we have is ours, and that's what matters." "Your uncle is a wise man." Lily considered this. "He's sad a lot. He tries to hide it, but I can tell." She glanced at Clara. "I think you're sad too. Maybe you can be sad together." Clara didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the child's bluntness. "It doesn't really work that way. Why not Rosie and I are sad about Mama sometimes? We talk about it together and then we feel a little better. Why can't grown-ups do the same?" It was a fair question. Clara didn't have an answer. That evening, she insisted on helping with dinner. Samuel protested, but Clara ignored him, moving around the small kitchen with an efficiency born of years of managing a household. "You don't have to do this," Samuel said, watching her peel potatoes. "I know, I want to." Clara met his eyes. "You've given me a place to stay, food safety. Let me earn it." Something passed between them, not understanding exactly, but the beginning of something. A recognition of equals. "All right," Samuel said finally. "But if you get tired, I'll sit down, I promise." Dinner that night was simple, but filling: roasted potatoes, bacon from the smokehouse, biscuits that Lily helped Clara make. They ate together at the rough table, and for the first time in months, Clara felt something she'd thought was lost forever. She felt like she belonged somewhere. After the girls were in bed, Clara sat by the fire staring into the flames. Samuel was in his chair nearby, working on mending a bridle, his large hands surprisingly deft with the needle and thread. "Can I ask you something?" Clara said. "You can ask, might not answer." "The doctor said you were a ranger, that you quit 4 years ago." She paused. "Why?" Samuel's hand stilled on the leather. For a long moment he didn't speak. "There was a family," he said finally. "Ranchers about a day's ride from here. Father, mother, 3 young ones. Bandits came through. We got word too late." Clara heard what he wasn't saying. "You couldn't save them." "Arrived just in time to see the smoke rising." His voice was flat empty. "Buried them myself, all 5 of them in a row under a cottonwood tree." "That wasn't your fault." "Maybe not. But I was tired of always being too late. Tired of counting bodies instead of saving lives." He looked up at her, and she saw the ghosts in his eyes. "A month later, Margaret died. Left me with 2 girls who needed someone present, not someone always riding off to fight other people's battles. So you stayed." "So I stayed." He went back to his mending. "Best decision I ever made. Hardest one, too." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. Outside, the January wind howled against the windows, but inside, wrapped in warmth, Clara felt safer than she had in years. "Jasper's going to come," she said quietly. "You know that." "I know. He won't stop until he's destroyed you. Until he's taken everything you have." Samuel looked up again. "Then I guess we'd better be ready." "You're here now, Mrs. Beckett. Whatever happens, we face it together." Clara felt something shift in her chest. Something that felt dangerously like hope. "Clara," she said. "Call me Clara." The faintest hint of a smile touched his weathered face. "Sam," he replied. "Call me Sam." Outside, the wind continued to howl. Inside, something new was beginning to grow. But neither of them knew that the storm coming wasn't the one they could see. It was the one that was already at their door. 3 weeks passed before Jasper made his move. Clara had almost started to believe it wouldn't come. Almost started to believe she could build something here in this cabin at the edge of nowhere, with a man who looked at her like she was worth saving, and 2 girls who had already started calling her Miss Clara, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She should have known better. It was a Tuesday morning when Lily came running in from the chicken coop, her face white as the snow that covered the ground. "Someone's coming," she gasped. "A whole bunch of them. On horses." Sam was on his feet before she finished speaking. He grabbed his rifle from above the fireplace and turned to Clara. "Take the girls to the root cellar. Don't come out until I come get you." "Sam." Now Clara. She wanted to argue, wanted to stand beside him to face whatever was coming together like he'd promised. But Rosie was already coughing the cold air and excitement, triggering one of her spells, and Lily's eyes were wide with fear. She was trying desperately to hide. Clara gathered them both and headed for the cellar door. "Miss Clara." Rosie's voice was small, strained. "Is the bad man coming?" Clara didn't know how to answer that. She kissed the top of Rosie's head and said, "Your uncle will keep us safe. He always does right." Rosie nodded, but her little hand clutched Clara's dress like she was afraid to let go. From below, Clara could hear everything. The thunder of hooves, the shouts of men, and then cutting through it all, a voice she'd hoped never to hear again. "McAllister, get out here, Jasper." Clara pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Above her she heard Sam's boots cross the floor, heard the door open. "That's far enough." Sam's voice was calm, controlled, the voice of a man who'd faced down worse than a crooked deputy and his hired thugs. "You're on my property. I'm here on official business." Jasper's words dripped with false authority. "Judge Wade signed a warrant this morning. We're here to search the premises." Search for what? Evidence. Your houseguest is wanted for questioning in connection with William Beckett's murder. We have reason to believe she's hiding something on this property. The only thing she's hiding from is you. That's not for you to decide. Clara heard more horses approaching, more men. "Now step aside or I'll have you arrested for obstruction. You try to set foot in my house, Jasper, and it'll be the last step you take." A long pause. Clara held her breath. "You're making a mistake, McAllister. A big one." Jasper's voice had changed. Harder now. More dangerous. "You think you're some kind of hero, taking in strays, playing protector? You're nothing. Just a washed-up ranger with a failing farm and 2 sickly orphans. Get off my land. Not until I search that house. You don't have the authority. I have 6 men with guns. That's all the authority I need." Clara heard it then, the sound of weapons being cocked. 6 guns. Maybe more. Sam had 1 rifle and a pistol on his hip. The math wasn't complicated. "Miss Clara?" Lily's whisper was urgent. "We have to help him." "Your uncle said to stay here." "But they'll hurt him. I know they will." Clara looked at the 2 girls huddled beside her in the darkness. Rosie was still coughing, her small body shaking with each breath. Lily's jaw was set in that stubborn line that reminded Clara so much of Sam. Above them, she heard Jasper laugh. It was an ugly sound. "Search the barn first, then the house. If she's here, we'll find her. And if I don't let you, then we'll burn it all down. Tell the judge you resisted arrest. Tragic accident. Happens all the time out here." Clara made her decision. "Stay here," she whispered to the girls. "Both of you. Promise me." "Miss Clara, no." "Promise me, Lily." The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I promise." Clara climbed the ladder and pushed open the cellar door. The cold air hit her like a slap. She walked across the main room, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat, and opened the front door. Every head turned toward her. She saw them all. Jasper on his horse, surrounded by rough-looking men she didn't recognize. Hired guns, probably. Men who would do anything for money. And Sam standing on the porch with his rifle raised alone against all of them. "You want me?" Clara's voice carried across the frozen yard. "Fine. I'm here. Leave them out of this." "Clara, get back inside." Sam didn't turn around, but she heard the edge in his voice. Fear. For her. "No." She walked past him down the porch steps into the open space between the cabin and the mounted men. "This is between me and Jasper. It always has been." Jasper's smile was the same one he'd worn the day of William's funeral. The same one he'd worn when he told the town she was a murderer. The same one that haunted her nightmares. Well, well. The Scarlet Widow herself. He dismounted, walking toward her with that predatory grace she'd come to hate. "You look better than the last time I saw you. Farm life agrees with you." "What do you want, Jasper?" "I told you. Evidence." "There is no evidence, because I didn't do anything." "That's not what the judge believes." "The judge believes whatever you tell him to believe." Jasper stopped inches from her. This close, she could see the cruelty in his eyes. The same cruelty she'd seen the night William died, when Jasper had stood over his brother's body and smiled. "You know," he said softly, so only she could hear. "I always wondered what William saw in you. Pretty enough, I suppose. But no fire, no spirit. He reached out and touched her cheek. She forced herself not to flinch. Maybe I was wrong about that. Don't touch her. Sam was beside her, suddenly moving faster than a man his size should be able to move. He grabbed Jasper's wrist and twisted, forcing the deputy to his knees. Sam, no. But it was too late. Jasper's men were already drawing their weapons. Let him go, McAllister. Now! Sam released Jasper's wrist and stepped back, putting himself between Clara and the guns. Jasper scrambled to his feet, his face twisted with rage. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Maybe, but at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror tomorrow. Sam's voice was steady. Which is more than you can say. For a moment, Clara thought Jasper would order his men to fire. She could see it in his eyes, the calculation, the hatred, the desire to end this once and for all. Then from somewhere behind them came the sound of a wagon approaching. Everyone turned. A single wagon was making its way up the road, driven by a figure in black. As it drew closer, Clara recognized the white collar beneath the dark coat. Reverend Thomas Whitmore. Good morning, gentlemen. The Reverend pulled his wagon to a stop, his mild voice somehow cutting through the tension like a knife. What seems to be the trouble here? Jasper's jaw clenched. This doesn't concern you, Reverend. Everything in this community concerns me, Deputy. That's my job. Whitmore climbed down from the wagon, his movements deliberate and calm. I received word that there might be some difficulty out here. Thought I'd come see for myself. We're conducting official business. Is that so? With guns drawn against a man and woman who appear to be unarmed? Whitmore's eyes swept over the scene. That doesn't look like official business to me. That looks like intimidation. The woman is a suspect. The woman has not been charged with any crime. The woman has not been given a trial. The woman has rights. Deputy Beckett, whether you choose to acknowledge them or not. Whitmore stepped forward until he was standing beside Sam and Clara. Now I suggest you and your men leave, before this situation becomes something we all regret. Jasper's face was a mask of fury. You're making enemies, Reverend. I've had enemies before. I'm still standing. The standoff stretched for what felt like hours. Then finally, Jasper turned and mounted his horse. This isn't over, he said, looking directly at Clara. Not by a long shot. He wheeled his horse around and rode away, his men following in a cloud of frozen dust. When they were gone, Clara's knees buckled. Sam caught her before she hit the ground. Easy. I've got you. The girls? Lily, Rosie. You can come out now. The cellar door burst open and both girls came running. Lily half carrying Rosie, whose breathing had worsened. Clara gathered them both into her arms, holding them tight, feeling their small bodies shake with relief and fear. Are you okay? Lily demanded. Did he hurt you? I'm fine. We're all fine. Miss Clara went out there alone, Lily told her uncle, accusation in her voice. She told us to stay hidden, but she went out there alone. Sam looked at Clara. Something passed between them. Gratitude, exasperation, and something else. Something neither of them was ready to name. She did what she thought was right, he said finally. Can't fault someone for that. Reverend Whitmore cleared his throat. Perhaps we should continue this conversation inside. The cold isn't good for the little one. They moved into the cabin, and Clara busied herself making coffee, while Sam got Rosie settled by the fire with her special medicine. Lily hovered between them, unwilling to let either Clara or her sister out of her sight. How did you know to come? Sam asked the Reverend. Dr. Stone. She heard rumors in town that Jasper was gathering men. She sent word immediately. We owe her. You owe a lot of people, Samuel. You've spent years building goodwill in this community. Not everyone has forgotten that. Clara brought coffee to the men and sat down, Rosie immediately climbing into her lap. The child's breathing had calmed, but her small face was still pale. What happens now? Clara asked. Whitmore's expression was grave. Now we prepare. Jasper isn't going to give up. He wants this land too badly. The railroad, Sam said. Exactly. Word is they've finalized the route. It runs directly through your property. Whoever owns this land when they start laying track stands to make a fortune. Clara thought about what Dr. Stone had told her about William's will, about how he'd tried to protect her. Jasper killed my husband, she said quietly. I can't prove it, but I know it's true. Both men looked at her. He was supposed to meet someone that night. Someone who had information about Jasper's debts, about money he'd stolen from the bank. Clara's voice strengthened as she spoke. William found out. He was going to report it, and Jasper shot him in the back, Sam finished, like a coward. Yes. Whitmore leaned forward. Do you have any evidence, anything at all? Nothing concrete. William kept records, but Jasper took everything when he evicted me. The house, the furniture, all of William's papers, everything. Then we need to find those papers. Clara shook her head. He'll have destroyed them by now. Maybe not. Sam's voice was thoughtful. Men like Jasper are arrogant. They keep things, trophies, proof of their victories. You think he still has William's records? I think it's worth finding out. Rosie tugged at Clara's sleeve. Miss Clara. Yes, sweetheart. The papers are in the floor, under the big chair where the bad man sits. Everyone went still. Rosie. Sam's voice was careful. How do you know that? Mama showed me, in my dream last night. Rosie looked up at Clara with those impossible eyes. She said you'd need them. She said they're the key to everything. Clara exchanged a glance with Sam. The Reverend looked between them, confusion evident on his face. Does this happen often? Whitmore asked. Often enough, Sam replied. The Reverend was quiet for a moment. I've learned not to dismiss things I don't understand. If the child says the papers are there, perhaps they are. That still leaves the problem of getting them. Clara shifted Rosie in her lap. Jasper lives in William's house now. My house. He's there every night, and during the day he's at the sheriff's office or with Judge Wade. Not always. Lily had been listening from her spot by the fire. Every Thursday night he goes to the saloon, plays cards with the other men until late. Sometimes he doesn't come home until morning. Clara stared at her. How do you know that? I listen. When Uncle Sam takes us to town for supplies, I listen to what people say. No one pays attention to kids. Lily shrugged. It's useful. Sam almost smiled. That's my girl. Thursday is 2 days from now, Whitmore said. If what the child says is true, and if the papers are where Rosie believes they are, then we have a chance, Clara finished. A real chance to prove what Jasper did. That night after the Reverend had gone and the girls were in bed, Clara and Sam sat together by the dying fire. Neither of them spoke for a long time. You shouldn't have done that today, Sam said finally. Walking out there alone, putting yourself in front of those guns. Neither should you. That's different. Why? Because you're a man. Because your life is worth more than mine. Because, Sam struggled with the words, because I just found you. I'm not ready to lose you yet. Clara felt her heart skip. Sam, I know it doesn't make sense. We barely know each other. You've been here a few weeks and I've got no right to feel... He broke off, staring at the embers. Forget I said anything. No. Clara reached out and took his hand. I won't forget, because I feel it too. He looked at her then, and she saw everything in his eyes, the loneliness he'd carried for years. The fear of caring again, only to lose the desperate hope that maybe this time things could be different. What happened to your wife? She asked softly. Lily and Rosie's mother was your sister, but you never mention anyone else. Sam's hand tightened on hers. There was someone, a long time ago, before I became a ranger. What happened? She died. Fever took her the winter after we married. We were barely more than kids ourselves. He paused. I told myself I'd never feel that way again. Never let anyone that close. Too much pain when they're gone. And then your sister died. And then Margaret died. And I had two little girls who needed me, who looked at me like I could fix anything, like I was the only solid thing in their world. Sam's voice cracked slightly. I couldn't fall apart. They needed me strong. So you locked it all away. I locked it all away. Clara moved closer to him, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body, smell the wood smoke and leather that clung to him. I know about locking things away, she said. I did it after I lost my baby, after William was killed, after everything Jasper did to destroy me. I thought if I didn't feel anything, nothing could hurt me anymore. Did it work? No, it just made me numb. And numb isn't the same as healed. Sam turned toward her. His free hand came up to touch her face, gentle, despite the calluses. Clara, The door to the girls' room creaked open. Uncle Sam. Lily's voice was frightened. Something's wrong with Rosie. She can't breathe. They were on their feet instantly. Sam reached the bedroom first, Clara right behind him. In the dim light, they could see Rosie propped against her pillows, her small chest heaving as she fought for air. Get the steam pot, Sam ordered, and the herbs Dr. Stone left. Clara ran to the kitchen while Sam lifted Rosie, holding her upright to help her breathe. Lily stood frozen in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Is she dying? Uncle Sam, is she dying? No, she's going to be fine. Lily, look at me. Sam's voice was firm despite the fear Clara could see in his eyes. I need you to be brave. Can you do that? Lily nodded, wiping her face with her sleeve. Good. Go to the barn, saddle my horse. If she gets worse, you're going to ride for Dr. Stone, fast as you can. But it's dark. You know the road. You've ridden it 100 times. Can you do this? Yes. Lily straightened her shoulders. Yes, I can. She ran. Clara brought the pot of boiling water, the dried herbs, a towel to make a tent over Rosie's head. Sam held his niece while Clara worked, whispering encouragement, counting breaths, praying to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. The minutes stretched like hours. Rosie's lips had a blue tinge that made Clara's blood run cold. Her little body was rigid with the effort of breathing. Come on, sweetheart, Clara murmured. Come on, breathe for me. You can do this. Rosie's eyes found hers. Even now, even struggling for life, those eyes held a clarity that Clara couldn't explain. Mama says, it's not my time yet. The words came in gasps. She says, I have to stay. For you. That's right. You have to stay. We need you, Rosie. All of us. We need you. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, the herbs began to work. Rosie's breathing eased. The blue faded from her lips. Her body relaxed against Sam's chest. That's it, Sam breathed. That's my brave girl. Lily appeared in the doorway out of breath. Is she? She's okay. Clara reached out to pull Lily close. She's going to be okay. They stayed like that for a long time, the four of them huddled together in the small bedroom. Outside, the wind howled, and the winter pressed close. But inside, surrounded by warmth and love, and something that felt like family, they were safe. Later, after Rosie had fallen into an exhausted sleep, and Lily had finally been convinced to go to bed, Clara and Sam stood together on the porch. The cold was brutal, but neither of them wanted to be inside. That's the worst one in months, Sam said quietly. They're getting harder. What does Dr. Stone say? That she'll probably outgrow it, that her heart will strengthen as she gets older. He paused. Or it won't. Clara heard what he wasn't saying. We're not going to lose her. You can't know that. No, but I believe it. She turned to face him. Rosie is the strongest person I've ever met. She fights every day just to breathe, and she does it with a smile. She sees things the rest of us can't, knows things she shouldn't know, and she uses that gift to help people, to help me." Clara's voice grew fierce. "She's not done yet. She has too much left to give." Sam looked at her for a long moment. "You really love them, don't you? Both of them?" "Yes." "Even knowing how hard it is, even knowing they might—" "Especially knowing that." Clara took his hands in hers. "Sam, I spent 3 months dying by inches. Starving, freezing, being treated like I wasn't human. Your girls saved me. They saw me when everyone else looked right through me. They claimed me before they even knew my name." Tears pricked at her eyes. "How could I not love them?" Sam pulled her close. It wasn't a romantic embrace. It was something deeper. Two broken people holding each other up. "Thursday night," he said against her hair. "We get those papers, we prove what Jasper did, and then we end this, once and for all." Clara nodded against his chest. "Together. Together." The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. The Reverend came again, bringing news that Dr. Stone would be ready to help if needed. Lily practiced her writing, determined to be useful. Rosie stayed close to Clara, helping where she could, conserving her strength for the challenges ahead. And Clara and Sam circled each other like moons around a planet, drawn together by gravity they couldn't resist, held apart by fear neither was ready to name. On Thursday morning, Clara woke to find Rosie sitting on the edge of her bed. "Mama says to be careful tonight," the child said. "She says the bad man knows you're coming." Clara sat up, her blood running cold. "What do you mean he knows?" "I don't know, just that he knows, and that you have to be smarter than he is." Rosie tilted her head. "She also says to look in the fireplace. There's something else there, something important." "The fireplace. Which fireplace?" "The one in your old house. The one where you used to sit with Uncle William." Clara's heart clenched at the memory. Winter evenings by the fire, William reading aloud while she mended his shirts. A life that seemed like it belonged to someone else now. "Thank you, Rosie." She pulled the child into a hug. "Thank you for telling me." That night, when the sun went down and the cold deepened, Clara put on her warmest clothes and met Sam by the barn. "You don't have to do this," he said. "I can go alone. It's my house, my husband's papers, my fight." Clara's jaw set in determination. "I'm going." He nodded, accepting what he couldn't change. "Then let's go." They rode in silence, the winter night wrapping around them like a shroud. Clara's thoughts raced ahead, remembering every corner of the house she'd lived in, every hiding place William had used. And the fireplace. Whatever Rosie had seen, whatever Margaret had shown her, there was something else there. Something Jasper had missed. They tied the horses in a grove of trees a quarter-mile from town and continued on foot. The streets were quiet, most folks driven indoors by the cold. The saloon windows glowed with warmth and light, and through them Clara could see Jasper at his usual table, cards in hand, completely unaware. "He's there," she whispered to Sam. "Just like Lily said. Let's move." They circled around to the back of the house, her house still, no matter what anyone said. The back door was locked, but Clara knew where William had hidden the spare key. "How long do we have?" she asked as she slipped the key into the lock. "An hour, maybe 2 if we're lucky." They went inside. Clara led the way, navigating the dark rooms by memory. Everything looked different. Jasper had rearranged the furniture, thrown out. Her curtains covered William's portrait with a hunting trophy, but underneath it was still the same house where she'd built a life. "The study," she whispered. "This way." They found it exactly as Rosie had described. A heavy chair positioned over a rug that Clara didn't recognize. Sam helped her move it, then rolled back the rug to reveal a loose floorboard. Clara pried it up with trembling hands. Inside was a metal box, and inside the box were papers. Dozens of them. Bank records, ledgers, letters, all in William's careful handwriting. My God, Clara breathed. He kept everything. Proof. More than proof. Names, dates, amounts. Everything. Jasper stole everyone he paid off. She looked up at Sam. This is enough to hang him. Then let's take it and go. But Clara remembered Rosie's words. The fireplace. Something important. Wait. There's something else. She moved to the fireplace, running her hands along the stones. Nothing seemed out of place, but she kept searching, remembering how William used to sit here, remembering how he'd sometimes stare at one particular spot, as if seeing something no one else could see. There, a stone that moved slightly under her touch. Clara pressed it, and a small compartment opened. Inside was a single envelope, and on the front, in William's handwriting, one word: Clara. Her hands shook as she opened it. My dearest Clara, the letter began. If you're reading this, then I'm dead, and Jasper has finally done what I always feared he would do. Clara's eyes blurred with tears. I know you must feel alone right now. I know he's probably convinced everyone that you're responsible for what happened to me. But I need you to know the truth. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Loving you was the easiest thing I ever did. The evidence you need is in the floorboard under my desk. But the most important thing isn't in any box or file. It's in your heart, your strength, your courage, your refusal to give up even when the world turns against you. Trust yourself, Clara, and trust the people who show you kindness even when you don't believe you deserve it. They are the ones worth fighting for. I love you. I will always love you. And I will be watching over you wherever you go, whatever you do. Forever yours, William. Clara couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 3 months of believing she was alone, that everyone had abandoned her, and all this time William had been trying to protect her, even from beyond the grave. Clara, Sam's voice was urgent. We need to go, now. She folded the letter carefully and slipped it into her coat with the other papers. Then she turned to leave and found Jasper standing in the doorway. Well, well, he said, a gun in his hand and a smile on his face. What do we have here? Clara's heart stopped. Jasper stood there like something out of a nightmare, his gun steady, his smile the same one he'd worn the night he killed William. Behind him, 2 of his men blocked the only exit. Thought you'd wait until I was drunk at the saloon, didn't you? Jasper stepped further into the room. Thought I wouldn't know you were coming. Sam moved in front of Clara. Put the gun down, Jasper. Or what you'll make me. Jasper laughed. You're good, McAllister. I'll give you that. But you're not that good. How did you know? Clara's voice came out steadier than she felt. How did you know we'd be here tonight? You think I'm stupid? You think I don't have people watching your little farm? Jasper's eyes gleamed with triumph. The Reverend came to visit. Dr. Stone sent messages. You were planning something. Didn't take a genius to figure out what. Clara clutched the papers against her chest. William's letter. The evidence. Everything they needed to destroy him. Give me what you found. Jasper extended his free hand. Now. No. Clara. His voice dropped dangerous. I'm not asking. And I'm not giving. You can shoot me if you want. But these papers are going to the marshal in Austin. One way or another, people are going to know what you did. What I did? Jasper's laugh was bitter. I did what needed to be done. William was weak, always talking about doing the right thing, following the law, protecting the innocent. He spat on the floor. He was going to ruin everything. The railroad money, the land deals, all of it. For what? For principles. He was your brother. He was in my way. The words hung in the air. Clara had known, had always known, but hearing him say it out loud was something else entirely. You admit it, she whispered. You killed him. I removed an obstacle. There's a difference. Jasper gestured with his gun. Now give me those papers, and maybe I'll let your ranger live. The girls too. It would be a shame for them to lose another guardian. Clara felt Sam tense beside her. She knew what he was thinking, calculating angles, weighing odds, looking for an opening. But 3 guns against none. Even a former ranger couldn't beat those numbers. Don't. She put her hand on Sam's arm. Don't try anything. Listen to her, McAllister. She's smarter than she looks. Clara's mind raced. There had to be something. Some way out of this. Rosie had warned her the bad man knows you're coming. But she'd also said something else. You have to be smarter than he is. All right. Clara stepped out from behind Sam. You win. Clara, don't. I said you win. She held out the papers. Take them. But let Sam go. He has nothing to do with this. He's just a farmer trying to raise 2 little girls. Jasper's eyes narrowed with suspicion. That's it. You're just giving up. What choice do I have? Clara let her shoulders slump, let the defeat show in her voice. You've won, Jasper. You always win. I'm tired of fighting. He studied her for a long moment. Then he reached for the papers. Clara moved. She threw the papers in his face, dozens of sheets scattering like startled birds. And in the same moment, Sam lunged for the gun. They hit the floor together, the weapon firing wild, the bullet shattering something behind them. Get her! Jasper screamed at his men. Don't let her get away! But Clara was already running. Not toward the door, she'd never make it past the guards, but toward the kitchen, toward the back entrance. She knew Jasper didn't. She heard Sam fighting behind her, heard fists connecting with flesh, heard Jasper's curses and his men's grunts of pain. She wanted to stop, wanted to go back and help. But she had the papers, what was left of them, and getting them out was more important than anything else. The kitchen was dark, but Clara knew every inch of it. She'd spent 3 years cooking in this room, had memorized its layout the way a soldier memorizes the terrain of a battlefield. Her hands found the hidden door behind the pantry, the one William had shown her their first week in the house. For emergencies, he'd said with a smile. You never know. Clara pulled it open and slipped through just as heavy footsteps entered the kitchen. Where'd she go? Find her, check everywhere. She was in the root cellar now, crawling through darkness toward the exit that opened into the back alley. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure they could hear it. Her hands were shaking, clutching the remaining papers like they were made of gold. The cellar door was stuck. Clara pushed harder, felt panic rising in her throat. Behind her she could hear them getting closer. The door gave way. She tumbled out into the frozen night, gasping, scrambling to her feet. The alley was empty. She could hear shouting from inside the house, but no one had found the cellar exit yet. Run. She had to run. Had to get these papers to someone who could use them. But Sam was still inside. Clara hesitated, torn between survival and something stronger. She thought of Lily and Rosie waiting at home, trusting her to bring their uncle back safely. She thought of William's letter still pressed against her heart. Trust the people who show you kindness, even when you don't believe you deserve it. They are the ones worth fighting for. Clara turned around. She crept back toward the house, staying in the shadows, listening for any sign of what was happening inside. The shouting had stopped. That was either very good or very bad. Through a window she saw them. Sam was on his knees, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. One of Jasper's men held a gun to his head, while the other gathered the scattered papers from the floor. Where is she? Jasper demanded. Where did she go? Don't know. Sam's voice was calm despite everything. Guess she's smarter than both of us. Jasper hit him. Clara flinched at the sound, bone against bone, the crack of knuckles meeting jaw. You think this is funny? You think I won't kill you right here? I think you're scared. Sam looked up at Jasper, blood dripping from his split lip. First time in your life things aren't going your way. Must be terrifying. Jasper hit him again. She's gone. The papers she took, they're enough to hang you, and she won't stop until they reach the right people. Sam actually smiled. You lost Jasper. You just don't know it yet. Clara watched as Jasper raised his gun. Maybe, but at least I'll have the satisfaction of putting a bullet in your brain first. No! The word tore from Clara's throat before she could stop it. She was through the door before she could think, throwing herself between Sam and the gun. Clara, don't shoot me. She faced Jasper, arms spread wide. You want someone to kill me. I'm the one who took the papers. I'm the one who knows everything. Jasper's gun wavered. Get out of the way. No. I said move. And I said no. Clara's voice was steel. You want to shoot someone in cold blood? Then look them in the eye while you do it. Look at me, Jasper. Look at the woman you've been tormenting for months. The woman whose husband you murdered. The woman you tried to destroy. You destroyed yourself. All you did was lie, cheat, steal, kill. Clara took a step toward him. And for what money power? You had a brother who loved you, a family, a place in this community, and you threw it all away because you wanted more. Shut up. William used to talk about you, you know, when we were first married. He said you had potential, said you just needed someone to believe in you. Clara's voice cracked. He believed in you, Jasper, even after everything, even knowing what you were capable of. He still believed you could be better. Something flickered in Jasper's eyes. Pain, regret, the ghost of the man he might have been. Then it was gone. William was a fool, and so are you. He raised the gun, and the front door exploded inward. Nobody move. Dr. Abigail Stone stood in the doorway, a shotgun in her hands and fire in her eyes. Behind her, Reverend Whitmore and a half-dozen townsmen poured into the room, all of them armed. What the? Jasper spun toward the newcomers. What is this? This is called a reckoning. Dr. Stone's voice was ice. Put down your weapon, Deputy Beckett. It's over. You can't do this. I'm the law in this town. No. You're a murderer who hid behind a badge. Reverend Whitmore stepped forward. We found your man Jasper, the one you paid to shoot William. He's been talking to the federal marshal for the past hour. Jasper's face went white. That's impossible. Is it? You thought you were so careful. Thought you'd covered all your tracks. The Reverend shook his head. But God sees everything, son. And eventually the truth always comes out. Clara watched as the fight drained out of Jasper. His gun hand dropped. His shoulders slumped. For just a moment he looked like a scared little boy who'd been caught stealing from the cookie jar. Then his expression hardened. If I'm going down, I'm taking someone with me. He moved faster than Clara expected. Before anyone could react, he grabbed her, yanking her against his chest, pressing his gun to her temple. Back off, all of you, or I'll paint the walls with her brains. Sam surged to his feet, but the men holding him forced him back down. Clara. I'm okay. She wasn't. She could feel Jasper's arm crushing her ribs, could feel the cold metal of the gun against her skin. But she wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. Nobody has to die here tonight. Dr. Stone said, her shotgun still raised. Let her go, Jasper. Let her go, and we can talk about this. Talk? You want to talk? Jasper laughed wildly. It's too late for talking. It was too late the moment my brother decided to ruin everything. William didn't ruin anything. You did that all by yourself. Shut up. He pressed the gun harder against Clara's temple. Everyone just shut up and let me think. Clara closed her eyes. She thought of the girls, Lily's fierce protectiveness, Rosie's impossible wisdom. She thought of Sam's gray eyes, the way he'd held her that night on the porch, the future they might have had. She thought of William, of his letter, of his faith in her. Your strength, your courage, your refusal to give up even when the world turns against you. Clara opened her eyes. Jasper, she said quietly. Do you remember what you said to me at William's funeral? He hesitated. What? You said I should have died instead of him, that the wrong person was in that box. Clara's voice was steady now, calm. You were wrong. What are you talking about? William chose me. Every day of our marriage he chose me, and I chose him. That's what love is, Jasper. It's choosing someone over and over even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Why are you telling me this? Because you never had that. No one ever chose you. Not really. And I think that's the saddest thing I've ever known. Jasper's grip loosened just slightly. You don't know anything about me. I know you could have been different. I know somewhere inside you there's a man who wanted to be better, who wanted to be worthy of his brother's love. Clara turned her head, meeting his eyes. It's not too late, Jasper. Let me go. Face what you've done. Maybe you can still find redemption. The room was silent. Everyone watching, waiting. Jasper's arm tightened again. Redemption is for people who believe in something. I stopped believing a long time ago. Then believe in this. Clara's voice dropped to a whisper. If you kill me, those little girls will grow up knowing their father figure died trying to save a murderer's hostage. They'll carry that weight forever. Is that what you want? To destroy 2 more lives before you go? Something broke in Jasper's eyes. The gun dropped from Clara's temple, and then everything happened at once. Sam broke free from his captors, lunging across the room. Jasper shoved Clara away, raising his gun toward Sam. Dr. Stone fired her shotgun, the blast deafening in the enclosed space. Clara hit the floor hard. The wind knocked out of her. She heard more shots. 1, 2, 3, heard men shouting and furniture crashing. Then silence. She looked up. Jasper lay on the floor, blood spreading beneath him. The shotgun blast had caught him in the shoulder, but it was the pistol wound in his chest, fired by one of the townsmen, that had ended it. His eyes found Clara's. Something passed between them, not forgiveness, not understanding, just acknowledgement. 2 people who had been bound together by tragedy, finally reaching the end of their story. Tell William. Jasper's voice was barely a whisper. Tell him I'm sorry. Then he was gone. Clara felt hands lifting her up. Sam's hands, strong and gentle, pulling her against his chest. Are you hurt? Clara, are you hurt? I'm okay. She was shaking, she realized. Shaking so hard she could barely stand. I'm okay. Is he really? He's dead. Sam's voice was rough with emotion. It's over. It's finally over. Clara buried her face in his shirt and cried. Cried for William, for the life they'd lost. Cried for the baby who never got to take a breath. Cried for the months of suffering, the cruelty, the endless fear. But underneath the grief, something else was growing. Something that felt like relief, like freedom, like hope. Dr. Stone approached her shotgun, now resting across her shoulder. We should get you both looked at. That cut on your head needs stitches, McAllister. In a minute. Sam's arms tightened around Clara. Just give us a minute. The doctor nodded, her weathered face softening. Take all the time you need. Later, hours later, or maybe only minutes, Clara sat in Dr. Stone's office while Sam got his head stitched. The papers she'd managed to save were spread across the table, along with William's letter, now crumpled but still legible. This is enough, Reverend Whitmore said, examining the documents. More than enough. Judge Wade's involvement is clearly documented here. He'll be arrested by morning. And the railroad? Clara asked. Sam's land. Safe. With Jasper and Wade out of the picture, no one else has grounds to challenge his ownership. The Reverend smiled. Those little girls have a home, thanks to you. Clara shook her head. I didn't do anything. You survived. You fought back. You gave everyone the courage to do the same. Whitmore placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. That's not nothing, Mrs. Beckett. That's everything. Sam emerged from the back room, a fresh bandage on his forehead and a look of exhaustion on his face. When he saw Clara, his expression shifted into something softer, warmer. "Ready to go home?" he asked. Home. Such a simple word, such a powerful one. Clara nodded. More than ready. They rode in silence, too tired for words. The winter night wrapped around them cold but no longer threatening. Something had shifted. The darkness that had haunted Clara for months, the fear, the shame, the constant looking over her shoulder, it was gone. She could breathe again. As they crested the final hill before Sam's property, Clara saw lights in the windows of the cabin. Small figures were silhouetted against the glow. They waited up. Sam said something catching in his voice. Of course they did. The door flew open before they'd even dismounted. Lily came running, Rosie right behind her, both of them crashing into Clara and Sam with such force they nearly knocked them over. "You're back! You're back!" Lily was crying and laughing at the same time. "We were so scared. We heard the gunshots from town and we thought, we're fine." Clara gathered both girls close. "Everything's fine now." Rosie looked up at her with those knowing eyes. "The bad man is gone." "Yes, sweetheart, the bad man is gone. Forever." Clara glanced at Sam, then back at the child who had somehow seen her coming, who had somehow known she belonged here. "Forever." Rosie nodded, satisfied. "Good. Mama said it would be okay, but I was still scared. It's okay to be scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave." Clara kissed the top of her head. "It means you're human." They went inside together, the four of them. Dr. Stone had insisted Clara and Sam rest, had given them both something for the pain and the shock. But first, there was hot soup to be eaten, and stories to be told, and two little girls who needed reassurance that their world hadn't fallen apart. Later, after Lily and Rosie had finally fallen asleep, curled together in their bed like they always did, hands clasped even in dreams, Clara found Sam sitting by the fire. He looked older tonight, the weight of everything finally visible on his face. "Hey." She sat down beside him. "How's your head?" "Hurts like hell. But I've had worse." Clara looked at the fire, watching the flames dance. "I keep thinking about what he said, about William being a fool for believing in him." "Jasper." "Yeah." She pulled her knees up to her chest. "William really did believe in him, you know. Even at the end. He thought Jasper could change, that there was still good in him somewhere. Was there?" Clara thought about those final moments, the way Jasper had loosened his grip, the apology he'd whispered as he died. "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it was just fear." She shook her head. "I guess it doesn't matter now." Sam reached over and took her hand. "What about you? What are you feeling?" "Honestly." Clara considered the question. "Empty, relieved, sad, grateful. All of it at once." She squeezed his fingers. "But mostly I feel like I can finally start living again. Like the weight I've been carrying has finally been lifted." "That's good. That's really good." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them and the night pressing close against the windows. "Sam," Clara said finally, "what happens now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean..." She struggled to find the words. "Jasper's dead. Judge Wade will be arrested. There's no one threatening you or the girls anymore. You don't need me here. You don't need Clara." Sam turned to face her, his gray eyes intent. "Do you want to leave?" "No. But I don't want to stay where I'm not wanted either." "Not wanted." He almost laughed. "Clara, you're the only thing those girls have talked about for weeks. Lily asks me every night if you're really going to stay forever. Rosie tells anyone who'll listen that you're part of our family now." He paused, his voice dropping. "And You what?" "I can't imagine this place without you anymore." Sam's hand tightened on hers. "I can't imagine my life without you. These past few weeks having you here watching you with the girls, It's been like waking up from a long sleep, like remembering what it feels like to be alive. Clara's heart was pounding. Sam, I know it's too soon. I know we've barely known each other. But I also know that some things don't need time to prove themselves. Some things you just know. He lifted her hand to his lips. I love you, Clara. I think I've loved you since the moment I picked you up out of that frozen street. Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. Happy tears for the first time in longer than she could remember. I love you too. I didn't think I could. I didn't think I had anything left to give. But you and those girls, you brought me back to life. Sam pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. Then stay, please. Not because you have nowhere else to go, but because this is where you belong. Yes. The word came out as a whisper. Yes, I'll stay. He kissed her, then gentle and sure, a promise sealed without words. And Clara felt something click into place inside her, the last piece of a puzzle she hadn't known she was solving. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. The girls are going to be impossible, Clara said. Lily's been dropping hints for weeks. I know. She told me yesterday that if I didn't do something romantic soon, she was going to take matters into her own hands. Sam shook his head. 9 years old and already playing matchmaker. She learned from her uncle. Did she now? Clara leaned against his shoulder, feeling his warmth, his strength, his steady presence. What do we tell them in the morning? The truth. That you're staying. That we're a family. He pressed a kiss to her hair. That sometimes, even after the worst storms, the sun comes out again. Through the window, Clara could see the first hints of dawn on the horizon, pink and gold, spreading across the winter sky. A new day. A new beginning. And somewhere she knew William was watching. Smiling. Finally at peace. The morning came faster than Clara expected. She woke to the sound of voices outside, men on horseback, the jingle of harnesses, the authoritative tone of someone used to giving orders. For one terrible moment, she thought Jasper had come back, that everything from the night before had been nothing but a dream. Then she felt Sam's hand on her shoulder. It's the federal marshal, he said quietly. He's here for Judge Wade. Clara rose and went to the window. A group of men in long coats were gathered in the yard, their horses stamping in the cold. Among them she recognized Reverend Whitmore and Dr. Stone. Should we go out? She asked. They'll want to talk to you, to both of us. Sam was already pulling on his boots. Can you do that? Clara thought about it. About standing in front of strangers and telling them everything: William's death, Jasper's cruelty, the months of suffering. About reliving it all again. Yes, she said. I can do that. The federal marshal was a man named Harrison, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much to be easily shocked. He listened without interruption as Clara told her story, his expression never changing, his pen moving steadily across his notebook. When she finished, he looked up. Mrs. Beckett, I want you to understand something. What happened to you? What Jasper Beckett and Judge Wade did, it was a crime. Not just against you, but against the law itself. He closed his notebook. I intend to see that justice is done. What about the people who helped them? Clara asked. The townspeople who looked the other way, who treated me like I was the criminal. Harrison's jaw tightened. Unfortunately, being a coward isn't against the law, but I suspect they'll have to live with what they did for the rest of their lives. That's a punishment of its own. They arrested Judge Wade at noon. Clara watched from Sam's porch as the marshal's men rode past the disgraced judge in chains between them. Wade's face was a mask of fury and disbelief, the face of a man who had never imagined his power could be taken away. His eyes found Clara's as he passed. She didn't look away. Rot in hell, she whispered. She didn't feel guilty for saying it. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. A wagon pulled up to the farm, driven by a woman Clara vaguely recognized, Mrs. Patterson, the baker's wife. Behind her wagon came another and another, until a small convoy had gathered in the yard. "What's going on?" Lily asked, pressing close to Clara's side. "I don't know." Mrs. Patterson climbed down from her wagon, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Mrs. Beckett, Mr. McAllister, that is, some of us in town wanted to—" She trailed off, twisting her hands. Another woman stepped forward. Mrs. Chen, who ran the general store. "We wanted to apologize for how we treated you, for believing the lies." Clara stared at them. Behind her, she felt Sam tense. "You threw me out of your store," Clara said quietly. "Said you didn't serve my kind." Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'm sorry. I was scared. We all were. Judge Wade and Jasper, they had so much power. If we stood up to them. So you let them destroy me instead." The women exchanged guilty glances. Mrs. Patterson spoke again. "We can't change what happened. We can't undo the hurt we caused, but we can try to make things right." She gestured to the wagons. "We brought food, supplies, things we thought you might need." "We don't want your charity," Sam said, his voice hard. "It's not charity, it's—" Mrs. Patterson struggled for the right word. "Penance. Atonement. Whatever you want to call it. Please, let us try." Clara looked at the wagons, at the women who had once crossed the street to avoid her. Part of her wanted to send them away, wanted to throw their offerings back in their faces and tell them exactly what she thought of their late developing consciences. But another part of her, the part that had survived, that had learned to find hope in the darkest places, saw something else. "You can put the supplies in the barn," she said finally. Mrs. Patterson's face crumpled with relief. Thank you, Mrs. Beckett. Don't thank me yet." Clara's voice was steady. "It's going to take more than food and supplies to earn my forgiveness. A lot more. We understand. We'll do whatever it takes." After they left, Sam turned to Clara with something like wonder in his eyes. That was unexpected? Was it? Clara watched the wagons disappear down the road. People aren't always as bad as they seem. Sometimes they just need permission to be good. "That's very generous of you." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of carrying anger around." She leaned into him. "It's heavy. I don't want to be weighed down anymore." The days that followed were strange ones. More townspeople came, some with apologies, some with offers of help, some just to see for themselves the woman who had brought down Judge Wade and exposed the truth about the beloved sheriff's death. Clara accepted it all with a grace that surprised even herself. She didn't forgive easily, that would come with time, if it came at all, but she listened. She acknowledged. She allowed people to begin the slow process of making amends. "You're nicer than I would be," Lily told her one evening as they prepared dinner together. "If someone treated me the way they treated you, I'd never speak to them again." "I thought about that," Clara admitted. "For a long time I thought about all the ways I could make them pay. But then I realized something." "What?" "Holding on to hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't hurt them. It only hurts you." Clara handed Lily a bowl of potatoes to peel. "Besides, I have better things to spend my energy on now." Lily glanced at her uncle, who was helping Rosie with her letters at the table. "Like Uncle Sam?" Clara felt her cheeks warm. "Among other things." "Are you going to marry him?" The question came out of nowhere, and Clara nearly dropped the pot she was holding. "Lily!" "What?" "It's a fair question. You love him, don't you? And he loves you. Even Rosie knows that, and she's only 6. "I'm 6 3/4, Rosie corrected without looking up from her slate. Sam caught Clara's eye across the room. His expression was carefully neutral, but she could see the hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "Marriage is a big step," Clara said carefully, It's not something you rush into. You already live here. You already take care of us. You already... Lily made a face. Do gross romantic things when you think we're not looking. Lily. I'm just saying, what's the point of waiting? Clara had no answer for that, because the truth was, she'd been asking herself the same question. What was the point of waiting? She loved Sam. He loved her. They'd already built a life together, already become a family in every way that mattered. What was she afraid of? That night after the girls were asleep, Sam took Clara's hand and led her outside. The stars were brilliant overhead, scattered across the sky like spilled diamonds. You've been quiet all evening, he said. What's on your mind? Lily asked if we were going to get married. Sam's hand tightened on hers. What did you tell her? That marriage is a big step, that we shouldn't rush. Clara turned to face him. But now, I'm wondering if I was wrong. Wrong how? Wrong to be cautious. Wrong to hold back. She took a deep breath. Sam, I've already lost everything once. My husband, my home, my place in the world. The thought of going through that again, of loving someone and losing them, it terrifies me. I know. But I'm also terrified of something else. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm terrified of not loving, of closing myself off so completely that I never feel anything again, of surviving instead of living. Sam cupped her face in his hands. What do you want, Clara? Not what you think you should want, or what's safe, or what makes sense. What do you really want? Clara looked into his eyes, those steady gray eyes that had seen her at her worst and loved her anyway, and finally let herself answer honestly. I want this. You the girls, this life. I want to wake up every morning knowing I belong somewhere. I want to watch Lily grow into a woman and help Rosie get stronger. I want to build something real with you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I want to be your wife, Sam. If you'll have me. If I'll have you. Sam pulled her close, his voice rough with emotion. Clara, I've been wanting to ask you since the first week you were here. I was just waiting for you to be ready. I'm ready now? Then marry me, tomorrow, next week, whenever you want. Just say yes. Yes. The word came out like a prayer. Yes, Sam. 1,000 times yes. He kissed her, then under the winter stars, and Clara felt something she'd thought she'd lost forever. She felt whole. The news spread through town like wildfire. The Scarlet Widow was marrying the former ranger. The woman everyone had shunned was going to become Mrs. Samuel McAllister. Some people grumbled. Old prejudices died hard, and there were still those who whispered that Clara must have done something to deserve her fate. But most of the town seemed genuinely happy, relieved even that the story was ending well. You'd think they'd invented romance themselves, Dr. Stone observed dryly when she came to check on Rosie. The way they're carrying on, you'd never know they were calling you a murderer a month ago. People have short memories, Clara said, when it suits them. The doctor finished her examination and straightened up. The good news is, Rosie's lungs are clearer than they've been in months. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. She's been happier lately. That probably helps. Happiness is the best medicine, better than anything in my bag. Dr. Stone packed up her supplies. Now, about this wedding. I assume you'll want me there. Want you there. I was hoping you'd stand with me, as my witness. The doctor's weathered face softened. I'd be honored. The wedding was set for the first day of February, less than 2 weeks away. Clara spent the time in a whirlwind of preparation helped by Lily and Rosie, who threw themselves into the planning with unbridled enthusiasm. You need flowers, Lily insisted. Every wedding has flowers. It's winter, sweetheart. There aren't any flowers. Then we'll make them, out of paper. Rosie's good at folding. And so Clara found herself surrounded by paper flowers of every color made by 2 little girls who had decided she deserved the most beautiful wedding anyone had ever seen. 3 days before the ceremony, Clara received an unexpected visitor. She was in the kitchen kneading bread when she heard a knock at the door. Sam was in the barn, and the girls were doing their lessons in the other room. "Coming," Clara called, wiping her hands on her apron. She opened the door and froze. A woman stood on the porch. Older, with gray-streaked hair and eyes that Clara recognized instantly, eyes she saw every time she looked in the mirror. "Hello, Clara," her mother said. For a long moment, Clara couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stare at the woman who had thrown her out 10 years ago for marrying a man she didn't approve of. "What are you doing here?" "I heard what happened, what you went through." Her mother's voice was rough, uncertain. "I came as soon as I could." "As soon as you could. It's been 10 years. 10 years without a word, without a letter, without—" Clara's voice cracked. "Where were you when I was starving? Where were you when the whole town turned against me? I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You made that very clear when you told me I was dead to you." Her mother flinched. "I was wrong. I was angry and proud and wrong. I've spent 10 years regretting what I said." "Then why didn't you come sooner? Why wait until now when everything's finally good again?" "Because I was scared. Scared you wouldn't forgive me. Scared you'd send me away." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "I wouldn't blame you if you did. I deserve it." Clara wanted to slam the door, wanted to throw her mother's words back in her face the way they'd been thrown at her all those years ago. But then she thought about what she'd told Lily, about holding on to hate, about drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. "You can't stay here," she said finally. Her mother's face crumpled. "Not because I don't want you to," Clara continued, "but because I'm getting married in 3 days and I have too much to do. There's a boarding house in town. Mrs. Patterson runs it. Tell her I sent you." "Clara, I'm not saying I forgive you. I'm not saying everything's fine, but I'm willing to try, if you are." Her mother nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I am. I'll do whatever it takes." "Then go to the boarding house, get settled, and come to my wedding." Clara paused. "If you want to." "I want to, more than anything." After her mother left, Clara stood in the doorway for a long time, watching the empty road. She didn't know what she felt. Relief, anger, hope, all of those things tangled together like thread. "Miss Clara." Rosie appeared beside her, slipping her small hand into Clara's. "Who was that lady?" "Someone I used to know, a long time ago." "Is she a bad person?" Clara considered the question. "No, not bad, just human. People make mistakes, sweetheart, sometimes big ones. The important thing is whether they try to make them right. Like the people in town who were mean to you, and now they're nice. Something like that." Rosie nodded slowly. "Mama says forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. She says it makes your heart lighter." Clara knelt down so she was eye level with the child. "Your mama is very wise. She says you're going to be happy now, really happy, forever and ever. Does she?" Rosie smiled, and Clara saw something in her eyes, a certainty that went beyond her years, a knowing that came from somewhere else entirely. "She says thank you for loving us." Clara pulled the child close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the fragile bones beneath her small frame. "Thank you for finding me," she whispered. "Thank you for bringing me home." The night before the wedding, Clara couldn't sleep. She sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, thinking about everything that had happened. The day Jasper dragged her through the street. The moment she saw Sam's boots beside her broken body. The girls' voices saying she was the one Mama sent. So much had changed in such a short time. She'd gone from having nothing, no home, no hope, no reason to keep living, to having everything. A family, a future, a love she'd never expected to find again. Can't sleep either. Sam appeared in the doorway, his hair rumpled, his feet bare despite the cold. Thinking too much, Clara admitted. He sat down beside her. Want to tell me about it? I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for someone to show up and tell me this was all a mistake, that I don't deserve any of it. Clara, I know, it's foolish, but after everything that happened, it's hard to believe good things can last, that they won't be taken away. Sam took her hand, tracing circles on her palm with his thumb. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise you this, whatever comes, we'll face it together. You, me, and the girls. We're a family now. And family doesn't give up on each other. Clara looked at him, this man who had lifted her out of the snow and never once let her fall again. How did you know? She asked softly. That first day when you found me. How did you know I was worth saving? I didn't. Sam's voice was honest. I just saw someone in trouble and decided to help. The rest came later. What if you'd been wrong? What if I really had been what Jasper said I was? Then I'd have dealt with that when I found out. He shrugged. But I wasn't wrong. I knew it the moment you looked at those girls, the way you held them, the way you protected them. His eyes met hers. That's not something a bad person does. I was scared, all the time in those early days. Scared you'd change your mind. Scared you'd realize I wasn't worth the trouble. And now, Clara considered the question. The fear was still there. Probably always would be buried deep like a scar that never fully healed. But it was smaller now. Quieter. Easier to ignore. Now I'm ready, she said. Ready to stop surviving and start living. Ready to be your wife. Sam leaned over and kissed her soft and slow. Good. Because I've been ready since the day I met you. They sat together until dawn, watching the fire burn down to embers, and then to ash. And when the first light of morning crept through the windows, they rose together to begin the most important day of their lives. The wedding was simple, a white dress borrowed from Dr. Stone, paper flowers made by two little girls, a ceremony in the small church where weeks earlier Clara had been dragged out like a criminal. But none of that mattered. What mattered was Sam's face as Clara walked toward him, his eyes bright with unshed tears. What mattered was Lily's fierce grin and Rosie's gentle smile. What mattered was Dr. Stone dabbing at her eyes and Reverend Whitmore's voice steady and warm, asking if they took each other for better or worse. I do, Sam said, his voice breaking on the words. I do, Clara answered, and meant it with every fiber of her being. When they kissed, the small church erupted in applause. Clara heard her mother crying somewhere in the back, heard Lily whoop with unladylike enthusiasm, felt Rosie tugging at her skirt, demanding to be picked up, and she laughed with a joy so pure it felt like flying. Well, Mrs. McAllister, Sam said, lifting Rosie with one arm while wrapping the other around Clara. How does it feel? Clara looked at her family, her husband, her daughters, the people who had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Like coming home, she said. For the first time in my life, it feels like coming home. Spring came early that year. Clara noticed it first in the way the light changed softer, somehow warmer, carrying the promise of new beginnings. 3 months had passed since the wedding, and the farm that had once felt like a refuge now felt like something more. It felt like home. Mama Clara. Rosie's voice rang across the yard. Clara turned from the laundry she was hanging to see the little girl running toward her, her cheeks flushed and her eyes bright with excitement. What is it, sweetheart? Come see what I found. Clara set down the basket and let Rosie drag her toward the barn. Inside, tucked into a corner of hay, was a cat, thin and ragged, with a belly swollen with kittens. "She was hiding behind the water trough," Rosie explained breathlessly. "She's scared, but I gave her some milk, and she drank it all. Can we keep her? Please." Clara knelt down, examining the cat carefully. The animal was skittish, but not feral, probably abandoned by someone passing through. "She looks like she's going to have babies soon." "I know that means we'll have lots of cats." Rosie's face was alight with joy. "Lily says cats are useless, but I think they're beautiful. And this one chose us, just like you did." The words struck Clara in the chest, "just like you did." "All right," she said softly. "She can stay, but you're responsible for taking care of her." Rosie threw her arms around Clara's neck. "Thank you, Mama Clara. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." That evening, as Clara prepared dinner, she watched her family through the kitchen window. Sam was in the yard teaching Lily how to repair a fence post. Rosie sat nearby with the cat already named Duchess wrapped in a blanket on her lap. 3 months. 3 months of ordinary moments that felt like miracles. "You're crying." Clara turned to find her mother standing in the doorway. Margaret had stayed in town after the wedding, taking a room at the boarding house and slowly rebuilding the relationship she'd shattered a decade ago. "Happy tears," Clara said, wiping her face. "I used to cry like that too. When you were small, watching you sleep or play or do nothing at all, wondering how I got so lucky." "Then why did you send me away?" The question came out before Clara could stop it. They'd been dancing around it for months, the elephant in every room, the wound that wouldn't quite heal. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was afraid. William wasn't what I wanted for you. I had plans, dreams, and when you chose him over me, I didn't choose him over you. I chose him for me. I know that now. I didn't then." Margaret's voice cracked. "I told myself I was protecting you, that if I pushed you away hard enough you'd come back. You'd realize I was right. And when I didn't, pride, stupid stubborn pride." Margaret met her daughter's eyes. "By the time I realized what I'd done, it felt too late. Too much time had passed. I convinced myself you were better off without me." Clara thought about all the years she'd spent wondering if her mother ever thought about her. All the nights she'd cried herself to sleep missing the woman who'd raised her, hating her for leaving loving her anyway. "I need you to understand something," Clara said slowly. "I can't pretend those years didn't happen. I can't pretend you didn't hurt me. I know. But I also can't keep punishing you for it. I've spent too much of my life holding on to pain." She took a deep breath. "So here's what I'm offering. Not forgiveness, not yet. But a chance to start over, to build something new." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "That's more than I deserve." "Maybe, but it's what I want." Clara turned back to the stove. "Now help me with dinner. Rosie found a pregnant cat, and I have a feeling this family is about to get a lot bigger." The kittens came 2 weeks later. 4 of them, 3 gray and 1 orange, all mewling and helpless and perfect. Rosie spent every spare moment in the barn watching over them with the dedication of a new mother. "She's getting stronger," Dr. Stone observed during one of her visits. "I've never seen her breathing this well." "She's happy," Clara said. "That's all it is. Happiness is more powerful than any medicine I can prescribe." The doctor closed her bag. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." But Clara knew it wasn't about what she was doing. It was about what they'd built, this family held together not by blood, but by choice. This home where everyone belonged. Summer arrived in a blaze of heat and hope. The railroad men came through surveying the land, making offers that Sam politely declined. The springs on his property, the ones that never ran dry, had made the farm more valuable than anyone had realized. "We could be rich," Lily pointed out one evening, "if we sold." "We could," Sam agreed. "But then where would we live? We could buy a big house in town. with servants and everything. Is that what you want? Lily considered it. No, I like it here. I like the barn and the chickens and Duchess and the kittens. I like knowing that when I wake up, everyone I love is under the same roof. Sam pulled her close. Then that's what we'll have. Forever. Forever. Clara listened from the doorway, her heart full to bursting. A year ago, she'd had nothing. No home, no family, no reason to keep living. Now she had everything, and she was about to have more. Sam, can I talk to you? He looked up from the bridle he was mending. What is it? Clara sat down beside him, suddenly nervous. I've been feeling strange lately. Tired, sick in the mornings. Sam's hands stilled. Clara, I went to see Dr. Stone today. She confirmed it. Clara took his hand and pressed it to her belly. We're going to have a baby. The bridle fell to the floor. Sam stared at her, his face cycling through shock, disbelief, and finally joy, so bright it almost hurt to look at. A baby? You're sure? I'm sure. But you said you told me you couldn't. I thought I couldn't. The doctor said sometimes these things are unpredictable, sometimes what seems impossible. Clara's voice broke. Sometimes miracles happen. Sam pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear if he let go. A baby. We're going to have a baby. Are you happy? Happy. He laughed, tears streaming down his face. Clara, I'm terrified, and amazed, and grateful, and about 100 other things I don't have words for. He pulled back, cupping her face in his hands. But mostly, yes. I'm happy. Happier than I've ever been. They told the girls that night at dinner. Lily's reaction was immediate. I knew it. I knew something was different. Rosie said you were glowing, and I said that was ridiculous, but she was right. Rosie knew. The younger girl shrugged, a small smile on her face. Mama told me. In my dream. She said the baby was coming. Clara's breath caught. She did. She said it's going to be a boy. And that he's going to have eyes like yours and a heart like Papa Sam's. Rosie paused, her expression turning serious. She also said to tell you something. What? She said William is happy for you. Both of them are. They're watching over us together. The room went silent. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes as she thought about her first husband, the man who had loved her, who had tried to protect her, who had died before his time. Thank you, Rosie, she whispered. Thank you for telling me that. The months that followed were the fullest of Clara's life. Her belly grew round as summer turned to fall, and with it came a new kind of anticipation. Not the fearful waiting she'd known before, waiting for Jasper to strike, waiting for the next blow to fall, but joyful expectation, the sweet agony of knowing something wonderful was coming. The baby arrived on a November night with the first frost of winter coating the windows and a fire burning bright in the hearth. Dr. Stone was there, calm and competent as always. Sam paced outside the bedroom door, wearing a path in the wooden floor. You're going to fall through to the cellar, Lily informed him. And then where will you be? I can't just sit still, not while she's in there. Mama Clara is strong. She survived worse than having a baby. That doesn't make me less worried. A cry split the air, thin and high and beautiful. Sam froze. Lily grabbed his hand. And then Dr. Stone appeared in the doorway, a bundle in her arms. Congratulations, she said. You have a son. Sam's legs nearly gave out. Lily had to steady him as he crossed the threshold as he approached the bed where Clara lay exhausted but radiant, reaching for the baby the doctor placed in her arms. He's perfect, Clara whispered. Sam, look at him. He's perfect. The baby had dark hair like his father, and blue eyes that would probably change, but right now looked exactly like his mother's. He was small and wrinkled, and the most beautiful thing Sam had ever seen. Can I hold him? Clara transferred the baby carefully, watching as Sam cradled his son with the same gentleness he'd used to lift her out of the snow all those months ago. What are we going to name him? Lily asked, peering over Sam's shoulder. Sam looked at Clara. They'd discussed it, talked about family names, considered honoring those they'd lost. But in the end, there had only been one real choice. William, Clara said softly. William Thomas McAllister, after his father's best friend and after the man who saved us all. Sam's eyes glistened. William Thomas. I like that. Can I hold him? Rosie had crept into the room, her face pale with excitement. Please. Sam knelt down so she could see the baby better. You have to be very careful. Support his head. Rosie nodded solemnly. With Sam's help, she cradled her new brother, her small arms surprisingly steady. Hi, William, she whispered. I'm your sister Rosie. I'm going to teach you everything. How to find the best hiding spots, and how to be quiet when the adults are talking, and how to get extra dessert if you smile the right way. Clara laughed through her tears. Is that what you've been doing? It works every time. The first year of William's life passed in a blur of sleepless nights and joyful days. Clara discovered muscles she didn't know she had, the ones used for rocking a fussy baby at 3 in the morning, for carrying a growing boy on her hip while managing the household, for loving so fiercely it felt like her heart might burst. And through it all, her family grew stronger. Lily, now 11, had become a second mother to both Rosie and William. Rosie, healthier than she'd ever been, had developed a gift for making the baby laugh. Sam worked the farm with renewed energy, knowing that everything he built would be passed down to his children. Even Margaret had found her place. She'd moved into the small cottage on the edge of their property, close enough to help, but far enough to give them space. She spent her days teaching the girls to sew, watching William take his first steps, slowly earning back the trust she'd thrown away. I never thought I'd have this, Clara confided to Sam one night, William asleep between them. A husband who loves me. Children who need me. A home where I belong. Do you ever think about what you went through? Sometimes. But it feels like it happened to someone else. Clara traced William's tiny fingers with her own. I used to be so angry, at Jasper, at the town, at God for letting it happen. But now I think maybe it all had a purpose. What purpose could there be in suffering like that? It brought me here. To you. To the girls. She looked up at her husband. If none of it had happened, I never would have known what real love felt like. Real family. Real home. Sam kissed her forehead. I love you, Clara McAllister. I love you too. More than I knew I could. William's first birthday arrived with the kind of celebration the McAllister farm had never seen. Half the town came bringing gifts and food and good wishes. Even people who had once shunned Clara now called her friend. It's amazing, Dr. Stone observed, watching the party from a quiet corner. How things change. People change, Clara corrected, when they're given the chance. You're more generous than I would be. I've learned that holding on to bitterness is like carrying a stone everywhere you go. Eventually you have to set it down, or it will crush you. The doctor raised her glass. To setting down stones, then. To new beginnings. That night, after the guests had gone and the children were asleep, Clara walked out to the porch where Sam was sitting watching the stars. Room for one more? He pulled her onto his lap. Always. They sat in comfortable silence, the night wrapped around them like a blanket. Clara thought about all the nights she'd spent alone and cold, wondering if she'd live to see morning. Now she couldn't imagine a night without Sam beside her. I got a letter today, Sam said finally. From Austin. The railroad again. No, the governor. He paused. They want to give me a commendation for my service as a ranger. There's going to be a ceremony. Clara sat up. Sam, that's wonderful. I'm not going. What? Why not? Because that life is over. I'm not that man anymore. He looked at her, his gray eyes serious. I'm a farmer now. A husband. A father. That's who I want to be. You can be both. The man you were made you the man you are. Maybe. But I don't need a medal to prove it. He pulled her close again. Everything I need is right here. Clara settled back against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Strong and steady, like everything about him. Rosie had another dream, she said softly. Last night. About what? About us. About this farm. She said she saw it full of children, ours and theirs after that. Generations of McAllisters all growing up on this land. Did she now? She said the springs never run dry. Not just the water. The love. Sam was quiet for a moment. Do you believe her? Her dreams? I believe in her. In all of it. Clara tilted her head to look at him. A year and a half ago, I was dying in the snow, and 2 little girls told their uncle I was supposed to stay with them. Everything that's happened since you the girls, William, it all came from that moment. So you think it was fate. I think it was something. God, fate, the universe, I don't know what to call it, but I know what I feel. She pressed her hand over his heart. I feel like I spent my whole life walking toward this moment. Every wrong turn, every heartbreak, every loss, it was all leading me here. To you. Sam's arms tightened around her. I feel the same. Like you were always meant to be mine, and I was always meant to be yours. We just had to find each other first. Through fire and ice and everything in between. Through all of it. The stars wheeled overhead, the same stars that had watched over Clara in her darkest hours. But they looked different now. Brighter, closer. Like they were celebrating along with her. Sam. Yes. Thank you. For what? For picking me up that day. For bringing me home. For giving me everything I never dared to dream of. Her voice caught. Thank you for saving my life. Sam turned her face toward his eyes shining in the starlight. Clara, you saved yourself. All I did was give you a place to land. That's not nothing. No, he agreed, kissing her softly. That's everything. In the house behind them, their children slept. Lily dreaming of adventures. Rosie dreaming of futures yet to come. William dreaming the sweet dreams of babies who have never known anything but love. And Clara, sitting in the arms of her husband, under a sky full of stars, finally understood what it meant to be truly alive. Not surviving, not enduring, not waiting for the next storm to hit. Living. Fully, completely, fearlessly. She had come to this place broken, starving, stripped of everything she thought she was. And she had found something she never expected. She had found herself. The winter wind stirred, carrying the scent of coming snow. But Clara didn't feel the cold anymore. She felt only warmth, the warmth of family, of love, of belonging, of home. And as the first snowflakes began to fall, she closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks to everyone who had brought her here. To William, who had loved her first. To Margaret, who had sent her daughters to find her. To Sam, who had never once let her fall. And to 2 little girls who had looked at a broken woman in the snow and seen something no one else could see. They had seen a mother. They had seen a family. They had seen forever. Clara opened her eyes and smiled. Some stories end with happily ever after. But this one was just beginning. Because the greatest gift of tomorrow is knowing that every ending is also a beginning, and love once found never truly dies. It simply grows.